First of all, today we are reading Psalm 22, and your assignment is to tell me how many times is Psalm 22 referenced in the New Testament, and what are those references? But in addition to that, I want to talk a bit about idolatry, which Baruch continues to talk about. I used to think that idolatry was putting anything in your life in place of God, honoring something as the prime purpose of your existence, whether it's money or sex or fame or comfort or what have you. That's idolatry, and it's a form of idolatry, but I think it's worse than that. I think idolatry is more serious. I think idolatry has to do with worshiping something we call God that is not God. Because we know if we're addicted to, Gatorade Zero, and it's the most important thing in our life, and we would kill to get it, we know that that's wrong. But when we make something that's our own creation and we call it God, we don't often know that's what we're doing, especially if other people are doing the same thing. I think it's a challenge to be open to God and not to say, I've got God figured out, I've got him in my back pocket, I'm good to go. Because if that's the way you think, that's idolatry. God is always stirring the pot. He's always bigger than we are. And although we can understand him when we are in his presence to a certain extent, if we think that we've got him made, and if we think that this really is God, and we can worship to it and it will make all our dreams come true. And then we say, I'm okay, I'm religious, I worship the empty bottle, I'm fine. That's when we're really in trouble. Because then we get full of pride and we say, hey, I'm worshiping God, whereas in fact, we've closed him out of our lives. I've said otherwise at other places, maybe just recently, I don't remember. Religion is a club that we join to beat other people over the head with. That's one way of abusing it. But another way of abusing it is religion is a way of taking God out of our lives and putting him in a particular place, making him a false God, not really being open to who he is and what he wants of us, and patting ourselves on the back in the process. I think that's what Baruch is talking about. And there are condemnations of idolatry all over the Old Testament, mostly in the books of wisdom and in the Apocrypha, which are not included in the Protestant versions of the Bible. But I think there's a reason for that. I think the prophets and the people who were sensitive to God and wanted to live in his presence and were seeking him looked around them and saw what you might see: unbridled hypocrisy, maybe even in your own heart, and an unwillingness to be open to the mystery of God and how he really is present, whether we are or not, and how he's not merely a man-made thing. Only God can make a tree and also make the fools like me, but only fools like me, you see, can make the God who made the tree. E.Y. Harburg wrote, who was a famous atheist. Only God can make a tree and also make a fool like me, but only fools like me, you see, can make the God who made the tree, because he thought there was no God. Well, there is a God. But maybe E.Y. Harburg was just looking at people's false gods and thinking that that's what God was, people's creations. Well, the atheists get that part right. We create gods all the time, false gods. But it's the true God we want. And it's the truth that will set us free. Because as Jesus says in what we read today, the sheep know the voice of the true shepherd. And the sheep want to follow the true shepherd, not the false one.